What's poppin' YouTube family? It's the host of Seeking Knowledge Podcast, the Marcus Brewster, and I'm back once again. You can see this is a double hitter. I'm back once again with my brother. I met this guy on Clubhouse, man. Then we started networking. Then we started talking on Instagram. Then we just started talking on the phone. And like his story, we got similar backgrounds. Like he's an amazing man. He's an amazing brother all the way around. You know what? Brother, can you just introduce yourself? They heard you talk enough.
No problem. My name is Albert Grieve. I'm an attorney at law. I grew up in a very bad environment. First of all, I think it's important that we're intentional about talking about our backgrounds and our trauma, as long as it is constructive for the purpose of prevention, helping others recover, etc. So I may say some stuff that's real today, and it could be triggering. So I encourage you to exercise some self-care. But I grew up in a really bad domestic violence situation, grew up in child abuse. I'm 38 now, so I grew up in an era where there was child protective services and law enforcement that at least had some training on these types of issues, but not sufficient training. And so they would come to our house again and again, and they would see things were going on, and they'd write the stuff down, but they wouldn't take the appropriate steps. And so the result in my home environment was things would get increasingly worse. And I'll share a little bit more how bad it got. But that background has always pushed me. It's been my purpose to try to make sure that no one has a childhood like my own. And so as an adult, I was in law enforcement for several years, and then I became an attorney for Missouri Department of Children's Division. At first, I was a litigation attorney, helping to find permanency for kids and helping to make sure people who abuse and neglect kids aren't around vulnerable people. And I do a lot of training around domestic violence and child abuse and stuff like that. So I use my background, my past of adversity to try to prevent hardships for others. So that's a concise version of it.
I like that because I have a similar, like my background. I went through foster care, and it was messed up, bro. I ain't gonna lie. It wasn't the best. It was some shit that went on in there that I knew should have been exposed, not just from me, but from other people that was in there. That's why the people that came there, they was trying their fucking best to get up out of there. And what led to me being in foster care, I love my great auntie Carol, rest her soul. She did the best she can. But at the end of the day, a woman can't raise your man. A woman can't raise no man. So I was taken from my great auntie Carol. Situation I got taken from my great auntie Carol from Brooklyn, Illinois, where all this happened at. Was taken. Caseworker, and the sheriff knocked on the door. Like, somebody basically called in, and it was like an anonymous tip. I never know who called in, but somebody did call in and told whatever. So we was taken, placed in foster care. Like, I'm already coming through the door on some I'm already coming in the door on some bullshit. I ain't gonna even lie, because I already sensed the energy. So not by mistake, I took my caseworker pager, because I didn't really want to be there anyway. I already sensed the energy. So I took the pager. Motherfucker went off. I lied about it. They looking right at me like, why you lie? But the thing is, there was a trigger. There was like a cry out, because I was 8 years old when I got put in foster care, bro. And it's the same lady that adopted me, bro. And I'm knowing there was some fucked up shit going on in there, bro. But I'm lying because I ain't want to be there, bro. And like, I can say like a lot of my hardships, bro, started like being in foster care, bro. A lot of my hardships, like,
so let me
suicide.
Ask you, how did they deal with that? So you entered the system. The first thing you did, you stole the pager. How did they deal with that? How did that impact? What was that? How did that change your trajectory? Because I got a point I want to make with it in a moment.
How I changed my trajectory. I mean, the thing I did it because I wanted to do it, bro. Like I didn't understand why I did it, but I know it was like a cry out for me, like, because I didn't want to be here. Like,
how did they treat you after that? How did they treat you afterwards?
Nah, it was still the same. It wasn't I wasn't treated different, bro. But as you saw how they what you mean, like who treat me after that?
All right, so this is what. So like a lot of kids, when they've gone through a bad background, whatever the case may be, When they enter in the system, that's a whole new environment, and it's an added layer of trauma. Like in children's division and social work, we usually say that every time a child changes pillows, it causes trauma. And so that kid doesn't know how to respond. And a lot of kids, without a means to express themselves, they reach into the modalities of coping mechanisms and choose impenetrable defenses. So they'll do something like what you did to try to like get out of the situation. And oftentimes it makes the situation bad for them. But if we had understood what caused it in the first place, if we could reach them sooner, then maybe we could build a connection, get them to talk about what happened and trying to help them heal. So for me, when I got in the system, the very first night is I had a suicide attempt because I didn't want to be there either. Now, I didn't like where I was coming from, but I didn't like where I was going either. And, it's that struggle. Right. And talking about that type of stuff, because unless we address it early on, every time we end up changing placements, because like, for instance, my sophomore year, I was in 3 different placements. And every time that happens, it becomes harder and harder to place us. And a lot of kids get on that path to juvenile hall, incarceration, addressing through substance abuse, self-medication, that type of stuff, whatever. And so like, I'm all about trying to reach the kids sooner, preventing intervention, and then helping them recover a lot sooner. So that's why I was asking that question, is like, how did that impact you? Because now they came in, and you came in for something that didn't have to do with you, what you did. It was your home environment. It wasn't like you were doing something wrong. They tried to put you in a safer place, but not understanding the world around you and stuff, you kind of put up your barriers and stuff, and you took some negative action. So that's why I was asking the question.
But me, as I walk into the environment, I knew I just sensed, as a young child, I felt like I was always wise because I was raised by my great auntie. That's who raised me. My mama, I love her, rest her soul, but she left me in the hospital, bro. That's how I ended up with my great auntie. So I'm saying my great auntie Carol did the best she can, bro. She did the best she could. Yeah. So me as a child knowing this, because my great auntie told me, Carol, she never lied to me. Me knowing this, then me going through foster care. So I'm already as a child have a lot on my mind. Then I'm thinking like, when you get placed in a situation like this, foster care, this probably be where you like a safe haven, security, love, all the above. And it's the same. Look, I was in one foster care, and this the lady that ended up adopting me it was a whole money thing. But me coming in there as a child, I'm already got so much on my mind. That was the whole taking the page thing, a crying, like acting out. But then the whole environment when you walk in, you looking around, you seeing how environment is. Like you can tell a lot by the environment. That's why when you walk in a place, you can sense all of it. So I'm knowing it wasn't right, bro.
Yeah, my sister, because I have 2 siblings and they came into care too, and their story is theirs to share. But my younger sister, she was placed with someone, and at the time, as a child, she identified with her foster mom, and she couldn't see that she was kind of being used and manipulated. It wasn't until she got older that she realized that the foster mom used her social security number to pay for medical bills and do stuff like that. My father actually killed my mom, but she was on disability. And those disability checks were supposed to come through us. Apparently, her foster mom got those checks, were cashing those checks and using it for her own benefits and stuff. And so it actually took many years for her to be able to realize what was going on and the negative impact and stuff. Again, it's her story. I always hear about like these horror stories and stuff about foster care, and it's difficult. Even my older sister has some struggles, but eventually I got placed in a good foster home to where it worked for me. It was somewhat dysfunctional, but it worked, and I started thriving. I was a 4.0 student. I was an editor of my school newspaper. I was varsity wrestling. But then because I grew up in California and there was no more funding, they told me that I was going to have to move out at age 18 before I had even graduated high school. So like the system was going to make me homeless because a calendar day was going to change, and then voila, I'm an adult. I had no resources, no cosigners, I had no driver's license, no car, no insurance setup. I had nothing, right? But I was lucky. I was fortunate because education saved me. Education is something that always has helped me to not only analyze myself so I can see what my strengths are, what my flaws are, and to improve myself, but to make sure that I have foundations and surroundings to make sure I can take care of myself and my family. I was lucky in that I was doing good enough in school that a recruiter from an HBCU in Midwest, never heard of it before, Lincoln University, Missouri. I had a recruiter come And she talked my foster father into letting me stay until I graduated high school. And so sure enough, the day after I graduated high school, I was on a plane to Missouri with 2 UPS boxes to my name. Because when I first came into care, we didn't have a lot growing up to begin with. And then when I came into care, I didn't have very much, as a foster kid, right? We get a clothing allowance and stuff like that. So I was able to pack everything into 2 UPS boxes. And being a child, one of them, this is funny, but I had a subwoofer box. I didn't even have a car, but I had some beat, and that was one of my UPS boxes. So I really came to Missouri with absolutely nothing. But man, I'll tell you, education is one of the things that helps. And so I like what you're doing, the Seeking Knowledge podcast, because it enables us to talk about what's going on, to try to uplift others, because there are a lot of people that have our stories. We have very different paths, but they're also very, very similar. We had adversity as a child, and we're working to overcome it and trying to help others with it. So that's why I love coming on your show. But that is like the number one thing for me has been education.
Education. I like that. Me too. That's why I say I'm not just giving knowledge, I'm seeking knowledge too. But as far as the whole thing, like everything you shared, I can remember like when I was in foster care and I got placed in there. Then it's like when I got adopted. But when I was in foster care, the state paid you for being there. I ain't gonna even lie, I ain't making none of this up. The money that was given to us, that's supposed to got to us, was using to get gambled on the boat. Like she was using the money to go on the boat, gambling the money up. Then she's saying stuff like, I got a good memory. I don't even care how people feel neither. She's saying stuff like, well, I'm using this to buy hygiene stuff and soap and tissue. I'm thinking in my head now, I'm already, bro. Look, don't get it twisted, bro. Look, I'm a high school graduate. I graduated with a 3.6, bro. So I'm far from.
Yeah.
I just look like it.
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, so it won't add up. So I'm thinking like, so that's what turned me to hanging in the streets. But it don't matter what I did in the streets. I always kept a job. I always finished school, no matter what I did. But me coming here in this foster care system, knowing these people that love me, like, then you already on you bogus. Then you're using the money to support your habit. And I mean a crack habit, bruh.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
This what go on. This what goes on behind the scenes, like in these foster cares. They don't want people to really speak on this. But yeah, bro, I
that's why we're doing this, is to be able to talk about it, because there are good foster homes, but the bad ones give them a bad rap. And like, for instance, in my state, there is a shortage of resource providers. There are not enough homes to provide for all the kids that need help. So again, let's just say like you were 8 years old, but then they put you in a residential living facility because they can't even find a foster home, right? So that's the type of issue that we're talking about to increase awareness. Not only that, but our community, building a community, not only of people who are survivors like ourselves, who could talk about our experiences and how it impacted us and say, hey, look, I had stuff happen to me as a child that's hard to deal with as an adult. And so if you're one of those people, let's talk. Let's talk about how we overcome, how we can build it up together. But also talking about our community to get more involved in these social issues, to make sure there are happy, healthy homes for kids to go in where they're not getting taken advantage of and stuff. So a child could just focus on working on the trauma that caused them to come into care in the first place, not adding a bunch of additional trauma because their foster homes messed up.
Gotcha. So my question is, what inspired? I know your background, what you went through, inspires you. So how long you been a lawyer, working in your field?
All right, so I graduated from law school in 2016, but it's kind of a funny road to get here, because when I went to Lincoln University, I graduated valedictorian, and I just got married. I had my first son, bought my first house, and I couldn't afford to go to law school because it's outrageously expensive. Not only that, but I was planning on working in social services, which doesn't pay. Let's just say it's pretty much pro bono. You're going to rack up all these student loans and they get paid next to nothing. But, to me, like saving lives and changing family trees, that pays dividends. At the end of the day, you still got to pay your electric bill. But, so to me, I'm passionate about it. But at the time, I couldn't afford to do it. So I went directly to working for law enforcement. And so that's my criminal type background. I was really aggressive with domestic violence types of cases and stuff. Had the opportunity to interview suspects on this massive rape case. Ultimately got convictions. Got confessions from them. They drew pictures, the whole nine. It was really awesome to be able to be a part of that. But I knew I could do more, so eventually I went to law school. All my internships were prosecutorial in nature. So the circuit attorney's office, the U.S. Attorney's Office. I clerked for a magistrate judge. But when I graduated, I found out about Department of Social Services. So that was in 2016. And so I was a litigator for Department of Social Services for several years. But I'm telling you, there's just not enough resources. So I had cases from one corner of Missouri to the other. I had a massive workload because there's a high turnover. And so there are kids that are in the system. Well, I'll tell you what, there was one case where we were trying to establish permanency for a sibling group. And I was the fourth attorney on that case. They're waiting to terminate the parental rights of these siblings so that they could be freed up for adoption. And the case had been continued on the docket for over a year. There were 9 different social workers that were on the case, and I was the fourth attorney. So those are the types of stuff we're doing. But I did that for about 2 years, and then I switched over to doing more training of social workers, law enforcement, victim advocates, etc. So I've been doing the training piece since about 2018.
That's good, man. So I know, man, I'm proud of you, bro. Like, for real, because we need more people out there like that to really expose the dirty lines. Like, because a lot of these kids don't be happy because the environment they going home to, and that's where the suicide thoughts kick in. That they feel like ain't no love out there, and that's what really the drug use and the drug abuse kick in. That because of their environment. So that's like they, and I'm just speaking in general. That's like my escape route. That was like my escape route, like working long hours, hanging out in the streets just to escape this. But at the end of the day, when you sober up, at the end of the day, when reality is still there, and that's how I used to look at it. So I got to making a better way for me. Like, did a little jail time back and forth there, going back and forth there. But I'm knowing like this environment's not right for me because I'm seeing how the whole environment started turning out. Like, and by the way, the foster home I grew up in is knocked down. It's not even there anymore.
Yeah.
But just the environment, like, so I was thinking like, I got to get up out of here by any means. By any means, I got to get out of here.
Okay, so I got something right there. So that same piece right there is what has driven me, right? And it's really interesting you said that because I had nothing to fall back onto, right? I was getting kicked out as soon as I turned 18. I came to Missouri with nothing to fall back onto. No one I could count on but myself. But knowing that feeling and what it's like, that's what drives us to prevent that for other people. Right. And that's why I'm talking about trying to make a change. It's all about like my background, the new cycle, breaking the chains, because mental health is still an issue. Suicidal ideations has been a lifelong friend for me. It really has, because it's like the trauma never fully goes away. You still get triggered. You still have to deal with this type of stuff. I was fortunate in that education was my savior, but there are so many people statistically that turn to obviously suicide or self-medication through substance abuse, incarceration, or they continue the cycle in and of itself. And so being cognizant, being aware of what is caused us to act a certain way as an adult is important, because when we identify it, then we can start changing that behavior and we can start to break the cycle. So I'm proud of you because you've gone through stuff, but you are on the right track now. I mean, you took some detours. I mean, that happens, right? You did your time and everything, but you're using that to teach others, hey, this is not the route to go. Let's talk about it. I'm an adult, I'm a guy, but I'm going to say some days, man, I got dark days. I got dark weeks because there's a lot that I went through and I'm still processing it. But being aware of it and trying to work through it is the first step. You know, and it's look, if the healing journey was a marathon, I'm on mile 3. I got a long way to go. But it's important that I acknowledge it and we could talk to each other. We can build this brotherhood that says, hey, like, you going through something, man, I'm going through something too. And we work through it together. So I could be a better father. I could be a better dad. I could be a better husband. And I can make sure that my kids never go through this type of stuff. So I commend you for what you're doing. So when you reached out to me to do this podcast and in the title, Seeking Knowledge, man, I'm all about it. I mean, we are on the same path. We may have came from different places and had some slightly different detours, but we're doing the same thing.
And I appreciate that, bro, for taking the invite, because I was like, you got a lot to share. And when I listened to the episode you sent me, I was like, nah, I'm looking at bro. I was like, nah, I'm gonna let him come on because he got a lot to share. I know he got a lot to say, but he can't say it. I'm bro got a lot to share. And I know, bro, we had similar backgrounds because I know, bro. Look, I know about Missouri, bro. I got family out in Missouri, bro. I know about Midwest, bro. And but I'm proud of you, bro, too, because I ain't like you over, man. For you to be 38, bro, you accomplished a lot. And like we talk, you are a married man, bro. You kids, you got this going on, bro. And I like how you said, bro, before it's being aware of your mental. I like now I focus more on my mental too, bro. Like, cause you know when your mental up, and that was everything started. So, and I speak on how I was dealing with sleep insomnia, cause the mental is tricky, bro. It'll get you.
Yeah.
That's why you gotta make sure.
Yeah.
So,
I gotta say this too. So there is no one perfect path for everyone as far as healing. But I will
yeah,
say the first step is becoming aware, right?
yeah,
Knowing that this is something I have to work on. I mean, how many people do you know that love to go to the gym every morning, but to work on their physical health, but they don't do anything for their mental health?
yeah,
We got to treat it the same way. You got to set aside time to work on your mental health as well, to become a better person. So you could deal with stress in a positive way, not in an animosity way, anger and domestic violence and all that type of stuff. And so that we're not turning to substance abuse to deal with our troubles, right? Something healthy. Like before we came on, I told you running. I love running. I run a lot, man. It's a good way to release stress and everything else like that. And just to kind of be in my own head with my own thoughts and process through stuff. So I use exercise to help my mental health. But no, it's important to put a finger on it and talk about it. We shouldn't be afraid to talk about mental health.
as far as the physical side, bro, once I like transition to where I'm at to where I'm finna start back getting on my morning routine, bro. Cause when I stayed in Maryland, I used to wake up every morning, bro, jump rope and run to the park, run a few laps, and and just come back. Cause I was a vegetarian. That's why I went back to the vegetarian thing, cause it gave me more energy.
Yeah.
So I know for as the emotional, and I'm in the mental side of things, you gotta work on the physical side of things as well. But all I went through, bro, through foster care, and be real, it made me who I am, bro. It made me to be wise and bold and not ashamed to share my story, what I went through. Just like I overcame it, people can overcome it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's why we're here talking about it. Like we made it through the other end, but acknowledging that it's still a process. It's something that we're still going through. But we
Yeah,
could lead by example and show this is what's worked for us. You should try it too. I mean, that's what I'm about, man.
feel you. So we definitely got to come back and do some few more parts. So how can they reach out to you? Like I'm gonna say this: everybody that's going through something in foster care, domestic violence, whatever you're going through, don't be afraid to speak up on it. Like if you knowing something not right, forget how somebody feel. Speak on it, and that where Mr. Albert Grieve come in. So how can they how can they be found? Like what's your how can they reach out to you?
So it's funny you said that. So I didn't really start social media until this calendar year. And it's because I wrote a children's book. Like I wrote a book basically to 8-year-old version of you, right? I wrote a book for children who are facing adversity without a means to communicate, and
Right,
they lash out and may engage in self-destructive behavior. Trying to teach them it's not their fault the world is blowing up around them. It's also toward caregivers to let them know that you open up your home to a child, they may not act the way you think, man. They may just start cussing you out or kicking holes in the wall, maybe stealing a pager, but it's because they're working through some stuff and we got to connect with them. So I
right,
started social media just to get the word out about that book. And then I made the story. It's a children's book. I made it free. So on your screen, Instagram is where I'm most active at Begin the New Cycle. But below that is a YouTube link. And you could Google it. Little One, You Are Loved. It's a children's book. My 8-year-old son at the time, he read the story. So if you know a caregiver or a relative that is dealing with a child that came from another part of their family or a foster kid or something like that, and they're struggling, especially if they're in a tender age, like toddler to preteen, just read the story. Maybe that will give them words to express themselves to start that process of healing. Because basically the story tells them that, we're there for them no matter what. We're proud of them. We love you. We appreciate you. and showing that support, building that rapport so they can feel open to talk about what's going on and start the process of healing sooner. Because like you're talking about mental health in adults, there are so many of us that will lose a decade or two of their life on those detours. But if we could reach a child sooner, we could prevent that so they can get on the right path much sooner, hopefully before they even become an adult. So yeah, if you look at the YouTube link below, Little One You Will Love, you can search it too. The story is absolutely free 99. You could read it, just like, share, subscribe, and share a story of hope and love and compassion for kids.
Man, I love it because that's what I target everybody when it comes to my messages. I know sometimes I can be a little raw in the cut, how I deliver it, but sometimes you got to be like that for people can get it. But I target more the youth. That's why I got some people that I'm working with, like some good close people. We gonna put a nonprofit together, and we're gonna, cause the youth. People need to hear the kids out, man, and not just target the kids that y'all think are doing well, or we need to target everybody. Because bro, I was just reading this book, and it was a poem. I'm reading this John Maxwell book, and somebody shared the poem, and she was like, the two type of people in the world. She was like, it's not such as good as bad people in the world, because every person that's good got a bad in them, got some bad in them, and everybody that's bad got some good in them. But she's basically looking at the people that inspire and don't inspire. That's basically two people in the world: people that encourage and people that don't encourage. I'm one of the ones, bro, that want to inspire people and share what's going on out there, bro, and let the world know, man, it's help out there.
Absolutely.
You are not going through this alone.
Yep. And either you're someone that needs to reach out for help. If you're not that person, I encourage you to be the person that is helping others. So that's what we're about right now, is trying to help others. So again, that's my free story to share out. And I encourage you to follow the Seeking Knowledge podcast. I really look forward to come back on and continue our conversation. It's not a lot of time. There's a lot more we could talk about, but I really appreciate the opportunity, man.
Man, I appreciate you for coming on, and thank you for the viewers who just came on. But man, bro, until next time, because we got to bring more awareness to men's mental health, what goes on behind and foster care. It's a lot, bro, we can speak on, but thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, bro, and coming over here and sharing your story and sharing with the world what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your day, brother.
You too, man.
And thank y'all viewers. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Let us know what y'all want us to talk about next time, or if y'all got anything y'all want to hear, holler at us. Until next time.